Scrimmage number 1 is in the books for Tennessee football. What are we hearing? How did it go? We'll discuss that coming up here to begin the show. Plus, Tennessee baseball, another sweep, this time over number 9 Vanderbilt. That is your Monday show coming up right now on Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into your Monday edition of Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Kane. Glad to have you guys along here for the ride. If you're new, pull up a chair. Hope you stick around. This is a weekday podcast all about the Tennessee Volunteers, and it's where you can go to get all of your up-to-the-minute information regarding everything happening with Tennessee. It's on YouTube every single day and available wherever you get your podcast, completely free, again, every weekday morning. I am Eric Kane. If you're new, I do work at 99.1 The Sports Animal. It's a flagship station for the University of Tennessee. I also write for the Rivals site covering Tennessee Volunteers football, basketball, baseball, and recruiting. That is volquest.com. Scrimmage number 1 is in the books. Practice number 7 is in the books. Tennessee now almost officially halfway through the spring chapter here in 2022. You only get 15 practices, but, Tennessee, they'll spread them out just like everybody else does. Coming up this weekend is that all-Vol weekend where they're going to do some stuff in the Vol Village and put up some projectors. That way you can kind of watch the scrimmage, I guess. We as media will have open doors. We can go in there and watch that, which I'm really looking forward to. That'll be huge. So we can actually sit there, watch, probably tape a little bit, shoot some highlights. Be a big day on Saturday regarding, what's going on with Tennessee football. So really looking forward to that. But as far as what we've heard, I'm sure you've gone out there. I mean, I wrote a story Saturday afternoon kind of talking about what I heard, and we put some notes on the general quarters, and me and Brent Hubbs and Austin Price kind of combined all of our notes from what we had heard from happening in the scrimmage. There was closed door. We weren't able to be there, but, we're not the only publication out there. 24/7, I'm sure, put some stuff out there, and, The Athletic and some other places. But this is kind of what I heard, and, the notes that I've gathered on what exactly happened in the scrimmage on Saturday. Now, it was a good day for the defense, and Josh Heupel kind of echoed that when he spoke to the media shortly thereafter, saying it was a really good day for the defense as far as getting lined up, knowing what to do, executing, playing hard, all that type of stuff, and making some plays. Josh Heupel also said that the defense did a really nice job on, third downs, getting off the field or stopping drives and forcing field goals. And I think that was a really good sign. Keep in mind, you've got some injuries. You don't have your entire defensive backfield back there. You have no cornerbacks right now. Your projected starting linebacker, one of them, Juwan Mitchell, didn't play because he's in a non-contact jersey. He's out there repping and practicing, but he's not going through contact right now. Some other guys, were not out there for various reasons, but defense seemed to be ahead of the offense, and defense seemed to do a really nice job of eating up that RPO game and stopping the run and making the quarterbacks look a little non-impressive. So I thought that was worth noting. And keep in mind, too, it's not, I've used this phrase all weekend long, it's not out of the ordinary for the defense to be ahead of the offense at this stage in camp, okay, whether it be spring practice or fall camp. I was talking with one of my buddies, and we were kind of joking, like, that's football 101. Any level you're at, the defense, it's reactionary, okay? Sure, you have responsibilities, but defense is reactionary. Offense has to go and execute a play call. So that's why the defense is usually ahead of the offense at this point in camp. So it's not a bad thing. Plus, the quarterbacks are not live. You guys know, watching Tennessee's offense, how effective Hendon Hooker is, running the football, the RPO game, or, keeping the football, creating, extending plays, stuff with the football in his hands, using his legs. So the quarterbacks are not live. You're not hitting the quarterbacks at all in spring. So that's all worth, kind of monitoring. But I do think it's worth, making note that progress is being made. And so I think that is I think that's a good thing. Christian Charles spoke very highly from Josh Heupel, saying that he's going to be a leader, and he's they really feel good about him and his progress so far in the spring season. Remember, he's a safety having to play cornerback this offseason because of all the guys who are injured right now. A newcomer that was really standing out for Tennessee, and Josh Heupel mentioned him a couple of times, Squirrel White, wide receiver. Give this a quote. This is what Josh Heupel said. Give this a listen. I thought Squirrel White did a really nice job out there today. He made multiple plays, operated really efficiently. I didn't think the tempo of the game was ever too fast for him. It was a really positive day for him. So that's really good overall on the entire newcomer class, the freshman class. Heupel said for our young guys, it was a great opportunity for them to understand what the feel, the flow, and the speed of the game is actually going to be like on a game day. I expect them to make huge strides from the first scrimmage to the second scrimmage, just like they have since we put the pads on. Felt like they are continuing to grow in that regard every single day. So there were some newcomers that stood out. I think Addison Nichols is having a really, really nice camp up to this point. Macquarius Wright, obviously. Chaz Nimrod was all over that highlight video that Tennessee football put out there. So that was good to see. A couple of other notes that I made mention of. Believe Jalen Hyatt found the end zone one time. Believe that Jalen Wright found the end zone one time. I believe that, let's see here. I think White might have found the end zone as well, Macquarius. So, it was obviously it wasn't awful for the offense, but the defense was just kind of playing ahead. I heard, I was told that the quarterbacks didn't look good at all. They were very, very ho-hum. I was told that Joe Milton looked the best, but again, it's take everything with a grain of salt. It was scrimmage number one, no contact, and it just kind of is what it is. But good day for the defense, essentially. Tennessee did have a couple prospects on campus this weekend. The number one quarterback in the 2024 class, Jaden Davis, was on campus. That was on Friday. Trevor Duncan was on campus. The Knoxville Catholic standout, and that was on Saturday. And Stanton Ramel, an Alabama offensive lineman, he was on campus on Saturday as well. Next weekend's going to be the big one. Real big one. You'll have Nico Iamaleava back on campus, Tennessee's five-star quarterback commit for the class of 2023, and he is bringing five-star or four-star wide receiver prospect Kyler Casper. He will be on an official visit, so that's going to be key there. So one more big note, and this is a big one both figuratively and literally for Tennessee coming out of Saturday. Latrell Bumpus, we have not seen him on the practice field all the way dating back since practice one. I spotted him at Pro Day on Wednesday. Me and Ben McKee spotted him on Pro Day yesterday. I shouldn't say just me. It was both of us. He was on crutches, and so we knew something was up there. Josh Heupel confirmed to VolQuest on Saturday that he will miss the rest of the spring. It's not going to be a torn ACL. It's not a torn ACL, but the thought is that he'll be able to return for fall camp. That is Latrell Bumpus, the super senior defensive lineman for the University of Tennessee. So I think that is a good note. So, hey, you're about where you kind of thought you would be in spring practice. Those are kind of the notes that I gathered from the scrimmage that happened Saturday morning, and really looking forward to being out there to watch scrimmage number 2 next Saturday. And of course, I'll get a really, really good idea of because I'll be seeing the whole thing of what's going on. Of course, I'll relay a lot of that to you guys here on the show. Any more questions you guys have on Tennessee football? Twitter Tuesday coming up tomorrow. Be sure to get in all your questions, your comments, and your concerns. We'll have Ryan Schumpert join us when we come back, talking a little Tennessee baseball and the series sweep at Vanderbilt over the weekend. But before we get to that, guys, I'll remind you about StatHero. The NCAA single game pick'ems pits the star players against one another, an amazing hybrid situation for sports gambling. Take control back from those handicappers that always seem to have the advantage. Start focusing on the players that you know the best, the gameplay that doesn't rely on those big spreads, large odds, funky props. StatHero gives you the advantage, resulting in their games winning 4 times as often. Why? Because, well, StatHero eliminates the mystery about who or what you're going up against. In addition to those pick'ems, they also have dozens of lineups you can comb through to take on and head-to-head matchups. They simply post the set of players for you to take on with the set of players that you choose. That's all at StatHero.com. So right now, what I want you to do is go to StatHero.com/lockedon for a 100% deposit match. That's StatHero.com/lockedon for a 100% deposit match. Terms and conditions do apply. Welcome back into Locked On Vols, your team every single day. And of course, it is the Tennessee Volunteers here on a Monday episode. Tennessee baseball, another series sweep against another top 10 team. This time it's a little sweeter because, well, it's against arch rival Vanderbilt. Here to come on and break down this series over the weekend is our good buddy Ryan Schumpert of RTI. Ryan, I know it's been a busy weekend, but thanks for joining us.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to get on here and discuss another fantastic weekend of Tennessee baseball. It seems like it can't get better for them, but each weekend it seems to.
I mean, it really does. And you can give me your input on this because, and I know that the level of competition continues to get better and better and better. I feel like Tennessee played its B game in terms of the lineup, like all weekend long, but it shows how good of a team you are when you're still able to overcome that, pick up wins, pick up series wins, pick up sweeps. It was another fantastic weekend for the Arms.
Absolutely, and you're right. It wasn't as good as a weekend for the bats. I think part of that, Vanderbilt, I think, is the best pitching staff they've seen. This is a pretty big park here, Hawkins Field in Nashville. So I think that's part of it. But like you said, I mean, this Tennessee team's so complete. There's not a whole lot of room for error against them, and Vanderbilt made some pretty crucial mistakes, both in Friday night's game, not being able to find some of those fly balls, and then in Saturday's game with some defensive miscues that Tennessee was able to capitalize on. And you're right, the pitching, these guys, you heard about them a lot coming in. Watch them in the fall, watch them in the pre-conference slate, and they're obviously incredibly talented, incredibly impressive. But for two freshmen and a sophomore transfer from Georgia Southern to be
Yeah.
as consistent as they've been week in and week out, and Chase Burns, I thought, had his worst start of the season on Friday, and it was still a ho hum 5.5 and a third innings, gives up just 2 runs, and really those runs came from Vanderbilt dominating on the base paths and stealing some bases and getting some RBI, I believe 2 RBI ground outs. So that group is just incredibly impressive. The strength of this team, and while I thought this Tennessee team would have better pitching coming into this year than they did last year, which is a lot to say for a unit that didn't
Mhm.
have a single weekend start coming back, they've just been dominant and really, I think, as good as you look at what Vanderbilt's had these past few years, not this year, but with Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter. I think this group is just as good as those guys have been, and as good as a unit I've seen in the country.
Yeah, we talk so much about Chase Burns, and really we give Chase Dolander his due diligence too, because he's among the leaders in the country in strikeouts, and he was fantastic again on a Saturday night. Tried to go out there for the ninth. I had to turn around, and Redmond Walsh had to close the door there, and a safe situation. But the guy that has gotten a lot more attention here lately, but the guy that's always third in this conversation is Drew Beam, and I don't know why that's the case. Another true freshman. He pitched the complete game shutout here on a Sunday. Might be the biggest surprise of the entire season is Tennessee's dominant Sunday starter, much like last year in Blade Tidwell.
I think you're 100% right. The biggest surprise of the season, because while you maybe didn't think Burns and Dolander would be this good, those guys came in with a lot of accolades, and were you knew those guys were going to be very good. And Beam was, you didn't really hear much about him until the fall. I mean, he missed his junior season of high school due to COVID, his senior season with elbow surgery. So he didn't have, wasn't highly touted coming in. We talked about today, Vanderbilt, a few phone calls in high school, but never really recruited him hard. And he's been better. I mean, numbers wise, he's been better than those guys. I mean, his talent and his stuff, he doesn't have the upper 90s fastball that those guys have. He's more low to mid 90s, but his off speed stuff, both with a slider and a changeup, are both extremely effective that he's able to throw for strikes. And statistically, he's been Tennessee's best arm, and he's been more of a pitch to contact guy, which has allowed him to get deeper into games than Burns and Dolander consistently have. And today, what to me was the most impressive part about it is he just got better as the game went on. I mean, he put it in cruise control and retired the final 13 batters of the game for Vanderbilt, and it hardly seemed to break a sweat. No Vanderbilt runners got in scoring position on him all day. Just incredibly impressive.
That is so wild. No runners in scoring position on Drew Beam. So just showing you what type of rhythm he's in right now. Ryan Schumpert, RTI, joining us here on a Monday show. Tennessee sweeps Vanderbilt for the first time since 2009, and it was all the talk really Friday night around the country in college baseball. It continued to linger on Saturday and Sunday. What was your take on the whole sticker on the bat fiasco? Took a home run away from Jordan Beck, but old Mike Honcho continued to have a nice series at the plate.
He did, yeah. He was great this weekend, and really the middle of Tennessee's lineup, the stars, Drew Gilbert, Beck, and Trey Lipscomb were great. I think had 10 of Tennessee's 14 RBIs this weekend. They scored a few more runs than that, but a couple of them didn't come on RBIs. But no, I mean, I think the bat didn't have the right sticker on it. So I think first off, I mean, it was the right ruling. You have to rule it as an out if it doesn't have the appropriate sticker. It's going to be fascinating to follow. I don't really completely buy what Tennessee's story was after the game, that it just fell off. Beck said he saw it fall off in batting practice that day and didn't think anything of it. To me, that doesn't really add up. I also, and again, I haven't heard this specifically, and I've tried to get this answered from the SEC, but haven't been able to. There was a sticker on his bat, and you would think if a sticker had gotten put, a legal sticker got put on his bat Thursday night when it got tested, you would have thought that sticker would have gotten taken off. So that's my few cents on it. I don't have a strong opinion on it necessarily, but a little bit of Tennessee's story to me doesn't add up. From what I can tell, I don't think this is going to be a big issue for Tennessee going forward, but they're certainly going to have a microscope on them the rest of the season, and they better have all their T's crossed and I's dotted the rest of the way.
Yeah, Ryan, you might not have the answer to this. It's something that nobody really thinks about, but testing the bats, seen some rumblings, even from some from journalists who were there over the weekend covering this Tennessee Vanderbilt series about the bat compression test. How often? It maybe some questions in that regard to Tennessee. How often are these bats tested or inspected, or I mean, what's the protocol here?
And they do it before every weekend series, and my understanding is before most midweek games. And it's supposed to be a first you look at it, make sure there's a few things that the protocols that you have to have, and then they run it through the bat machine to test the oh gosh, can't even I want to say
Compression.
comprehension, the compression. Yes,
Yeah.
I've literally written comprehension like 2 times this weekend and had to correct myself. But that happens every single weekend. Really, on typically on Thursday, sometimes on Friday. And I don't think it's necessarily super rare for bats to necessarily fail. I know Trey Lipscomb's bat had failed in Houston back when they went out there for that 3-game series. And my understanding, which there's been kind of conflicting reports today, whether that Beck's bat had failed. My understanding is if a bat fails its test on Thursday, Tennessee doesn't get the bat back. So
Yeah.
if it has been tested, it would have been tested on Saturday or maybe today. But my understanding is that bat goes into the umpires locker room for the whole weekend. So I'm not really sure how Vanderbilt or how someone would have tested it. And again, another thing, my understanding originally, my thought was that this would get sent to the league offices to be looked at. I haven't gotten a firm answer from them, emailing them back and forth a little bit this weekend. And then John Wilkerson, the voice of the Vols, said Tennessee's understanding is that it will be back in their control after the weekend. So we'll see with that. We'll see if anything more comes out of that. But certainly an interesting storyline and a lot of moving parts that I didn't even know they did these bat tests. Kind of like you were saying, I didn't even know anything about this sticker. And I knew the bats were inspected, I guess, but I didn't know the sticker. I didn't know the machine policy and really any of that until Friday night. So it's kind of been learning on the fly, and not a lot of people want to give you firm answers on it. That's for sure.
It's a weird situation, but regardless, Tennessee gets a sweep at, again, arch rival, the standard of the SEC, the standard in college baseball, honestly. Vanderbilt for the first time since 2009, 6-2 on Friday night, 5-2 on Saturday, and 5-0 your Sunday score. Ryan, I mean, is this it's not perfect, don't get me wrong. Oh, real quick, one thing. How about the left field situation this weekend? A couple of different guys got some starts there. What did we? I know Christian Scott had a good game on Sunday. What's left field looking like right now with Jared Dickey injured?
Yeah, well, I think for one, I think Jared Dickey is not going to be out nearly as long as they expected. He did get a pinch hit at bat on Saturday. I wouldn't be surprised if he's back in left field by next weekend with that bone bruise on his foot. But yeah, it was Seth Stevenson got to start there on Friday and Saturday, struggled at the plate. They went with Christian Scott today, and Christian Scott, a guy I really admire on this team because, man, he is stuck through a lot of competition out in the outfield, and he's a good player. He could start at a lot of places. I would think some places in this league and a lot of good schools across the country, and he really got to start today, and he made the most of it. 2 hits, another walk, a big stolen base. Tennessee was up 1-0 for a while in this game, and he got a leadoff single. I think it was 5th, 6th inning. Next 2 guys get out. He's still second, and then Luke Lipsius drives him in with a single up the middle. That was huge. He did kind of have one big miscue, tried to lay down a bunt and popped it up. Tennessee ended up getting doubled up and kind of out of an inning where they could have broken things open. But I thought he was really solid, was better than Stevenson the first 2 days, and also had a really nice play out in left field to open an inning and keep Beam just at 2 hits on the day.
Best team in the country right now, hands down?
I don't see how you can argue any other way. I mean, and you look at Tennessee's schedule, 3 weekends in, I think on paper they have their 2 hardest series out of the way in Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. I do think the top of the SEC is a little bit down this year. They don't get Arkansas this season. And I mean, it's hard to think Tennessee's not going to be favored in every series to go. And it's hard to think Tennessee's not going to be, maybe not expected, but it's hard to think that a sweep's not going to be in play in a lot of these series in Lindsey Nelson Stadium the rest of the season.
Ryan Schumpert, Rocky Top Insider, what are you working on over on the website this week?
Yeah, so plenty of stuff on the baseball team, stuff from this weekend. Have a breakdown of the bat situation from Friday night. Just had an article go up kind of talking about how remarkable this start of the season has been. They need a win on Friday against Missouri to tie the 1994 Florida team with the best start in SEC history, or not SEC, in SEC since the conference expanded to 30 games in 1992 when Arkansas and South Carolina joined the league. And then plenty of stuff on the basketball front. kind of keeping roster movement up. And we'll see what happens with Kennedy Chandler, Josiah James, what those guys decide to do. Plenty of looks at the transfer portal and recruiting. And then my buddy Rick Butler's really been handling a lot of spring football stuff and plenty of good content there too.
Schumpert, find him on Twitter. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime.
Great stuff there following Tennessee's sweep over Vanderbilt on the road in Nashville over the weekend. BetOnline, your number one spot for all your sports betting news and information this week. Find all the latest sports developments you got, including this week's Masters Championships, the odds, the podcast reviews for all of the different leagues this season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting options and tons of esports and scores. You can head on over to the website today, sign up for all that action, or learn more about everything, all the trends and latest actions. Got a big game coming up here later tonight on the basketball court. It's going to decide who wins it all this year. If you want to have some fun and have a rooting interest when your team's not even in it, I'm telling you, go to betonline.net, help yourself out, put your sports knowledge to use, and put some coin in your pocket. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. We got a final segment left here on a Monday Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Eric Kane. You can find this podcast weekday mornings on YouTube, of course, and wherever you get your podcast, completely free and available for you. Thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every day. Don't forget, Twitter Tuesdays coming up tomorrow. Got the number one team in the baseball in the entire country. Number one team in the baseball. That made a whole lot of sense. Number one team in baseball in the entire country. That's what you have here on the Hill in Tennessee baseball. Spring practice just wrapped up. Scrimmage number 1. Basketball, a lot of movements going on this offseason potentially. Anything you have questions about, of course, the world of recruiting never stops. You can dive into those DMs at LockedOnVols @_Kaner and get in your questions for your Twitter Tuesday conversations. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about baseball, shall we? We talked with Ryan Schumpert, does an awesome job covering the Tennessee baseball team for Rocky Top Insider. Chase Burns was fantastic. I've said it all, year long. If you build your team on arms, you're going to be in position to win every single series out there. It's what the Atlanta Braves did in the 90s to mid-2000s when it had that run of 14 straight National League East championships. It's because they had pitching. It had pitching for days. Tony Vitello is building this program, bringing it from 6 feet under on the arms. I mean, it truly is. Chase Burns is as Ryan kind of said, probably maybe had his worst outing of the season, and it wasn't bad. I mean, he goes 5 1/3 on Friday night, gives up 5 hits, 2 runs, strikes out 7, walks 1. That's not horrible, right? But what Chase Dollander does on Saturday, 8 innings plus, 2 runs off 3 hits, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. Just incredible. And then what Drew Beam, the bullpen doesn't even have to come in on Sunday from what Drew Beam does. A complete game shutout and a 5-0 win for Tennessee to slam the door shut on this season sweep, or on this series sweep. Reuben Walsh comes in and closes things up, picks up the save on a Saturday night, coming in for Chase Dollander, as Ryan talked about, pitches an inning, gets 3 outs, and does a fantastic job. Immediately induces a double play ball on the fastest guy in the country, and Enrique Bradfield Jr., which is just awesome, right? The bullpen did a fine job on Friday night. Whenever Burns only goes 5 innings and a third, you have Will Mabry coming in, pitching an inning and 2/3. Kirby Connell gets an out, and Camden Sewell comes in and, kind of gets some demons away from him. He's not had the best outings here of late, and he goes innings and 2/3, no runs, no hits, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, and that was really, really good to see from Camden Sewell. But, Tennessee, if you have the pitching, you're going to be in position to win any game out there. Blake Tidwell started to get loose on Saturday night. Tennessee did not use him. Blake Tidwell did not pitch at all this weekend, has not pitched in an SEC game yet. Tennessee will have a midweek game, and I expect to see Blake Tidwell get some work in that midweek game for sure. But if you can pitch, you're going to be in position to win, and Tennessee, without a doubt, can pitch and did pitch at Vanderbilt. Again, the first sweep over Vanderbilt since 2009. What a feeling, right? Tim Corbin, the coach for Vanderbilt, was beside himself after the game. He gave a lot of props to Tennessee, said they're playing very well. He said he felt like taking a baseball bat and beating himself over the head after getting swept. You can tell that is a team, that is a program that doesn't get swept very often. That is a coach that doesn't lose baseball games very often. So I think it says an awful lot about the way Tennessee's playing for him to have comments kind of like that, right? But, credit Tennessee for just getting the job done. Friday nights, Tennessee, having to find a new leadoff man. I mentioned Christian Scott got the start in left field on Sunday. Getting the start in left field with Steph Stevenson on Friday nights. And, of course, he got the start in left field again on Saturday as Jared Dickey continues to nurse a bone bruise. But Tennessee got 2 hits from Moore on a Friday night. He had a really, really good game. We talked with Ben McKeon around the Horde Lane on a Friday night about that. Yeah, Luke Lipsius, who homer, drove in 2 runs, stared down his bat and said, "Hey, mine's got the sticker on it." Of course, that came 2 innings after the whole Jordan Beck fiasco. So that was kind of the story on a Friday night. Tennessee scores 5 runs, 3 of which come in the first inning, 2 of which come in the second inning on a Saturday, and collect 3-hit day from Trey Lipscomb, who was incredible. Drove in 3 as well in that outing. He was truly the story on a Saturday night, and a multi-hit day from Jordan Beck, who again continues to just not slow down. And it's been a total team effort. So Tennessee sweeping Ole Miss on the road, Tennessee sweeping Vanderbilt on the road. Florida will be tough, but it's this is very, very much a you have arrived is what I'm trying to say. You're not climbing anymore. Tony Vitello and the Tennessee baseball team, it has firmly arrived. And look, it's been a 5-year journey. So, you're not satisfied. You want to win games. You want to get back to Omaha. You want to win some games at Omaha. I was talking with Ben McKee after Friday night's game and said at this point it would be a disappointment if Tennessee, and a lot can happen. You have injuries, you have tons of season left. I understand that. It's such a grind to get through regionals and then super regionals and then on to Omaha. And then to finish off what you started getting to Omaha, a lot can happen. But it would be at this point in the season, the way Tennessee's playing right now and how far it's come, it would be a disappointment if Tennessee was not in Omaha this year, without a doubt. But guys, I know a lot of you guys don't care about baseball, but a lot of you guys are now new baseball fans, at least Tennessee baseball, because of the story of Tony Vitello and what he's doing. I've talked to a lot of you guys that said, "Hey, I didn't give 2 craps about baseball, but now I'm trying to make, I'm trying to go out on a Sunday afternoon. I'm trying to go out on a Friday night, maybe sit on the porch, have a few beer with the boys and watch Tennessee baseball go after it." That's why I'm bringing baseball onto this podcast. And it's, these guys deserve the coverage. They've been killing it. They truly, truly have. So, really, really fun weekend. Tennessee sweeps Vanderbilt in Nashville for the first time since 2009. Plenty more Tennessee football coverage. Spring practice is just about halfway through. And don't forget, Twitter Tuesday is coming up on tomorrow's show. Anything you guys have, get me in your Twitter Tuesday questions, comments, or concerns. That's all at Locked On Vols and at _Caner. Guys, thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen. Check out Locked On NFL Draft. Ryan Tracy, Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life every single day. Make that your second listen, right behind Locked On Vols being your first listen. That is Locked On NFL Draft. Guys, thank you so much as always for making Locked On Vols your first listen. We'll talk again tomorrow, and until then, enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody.